My son asked why mommy has a different family in her Friday photos. 8-year-old Timothy showed me his mother's Instagram on her tablet, which she'd forgotten to log out of when she let him play games. The screen showed dozens of pictures of Patricia with 3 children I'd never seen before, all tagged Family Friday Fun at various locations around the city. My blood ran cold as I scrolled through months of posts showing my wife at parks, museums, restaurants, and movie theaters with these kids, calling them my babies and my whole world in the captions. Who are these kids, Daddy? Timothy asked, his voice small and confused. Why does mommy call them her babies? Aren't me and Sophie her babies? I had no answer that wouldn't shatter his world. Patricia supposedly visited her sick mother every Friday, a standing arrangement for the past 2 years since her mom's dementia diagnosis. I'd never questioned it, appreciating that she handled that burden while I managed Friday pickups and homework. But these photos were all dated Fridays, all geo-tagged in our city, nowhere near her mother's nursing home 3 hours away. The children in the pictures looked happy and comfortable with Patricia, ranging from maybe 5 to 12 years old. She appeared in their birthday photos, their Halloween costumes, their Christmas mornings. One video showed the youngest calling her Mama Patricia while showing off a drawing. My hands shook as I screenshotted everything before Patricia could delete the evidence. That evening, after the kids were asleep, I confronted her with printed copies of the photos. Patricia's face went white, then red, then finally settled into something like relief. I wondered when you'd find out, she said quietly. I'm surprised it took this long. The truth was more complex than an affair or secret family. The children were her sister's kids, orphaned when Patricia's sister died in a car accident 3 years ago. But that sister was one Patricia had never told me existed, a sister who'd been erased from family history after running away at 17 to escape their abusive father. Patricia had reconnected with her sister just months before the accident, promising to help raise her children if anything happened. When tragedy struck, she'd honored that promise without telling me. They were going into foster care, Patricia explained, tears streaming down her face. Their father was never in the picture. I was their only family, but I knew you'd never agree to take in 3 more kids. We were already struggling financially with our 2. She'd used her inheritance from her grandmother, which I thought went to her mother's care, to set up the children in a small apartment with a full-time nanny. Every Friday, she spent the day with them, maintaining the illusion of normalcy they desperately needed while keeping them secret from her real family. How long were you planning to lie? I asked, stunned by the magnitude of her deception. Until they aged out, she admitted. The oldest is 14. 4 more years and he'd be in college. I had it all planned out financially, emotionally, everything except you finding out. The apartment she'd rented was 20 minutes away. These children had been living parallel lives to our own kids, never knowing they had cousins nearby, never understanding why their aunt could only see them once a week. Patricia had been splitting herself between 2 families, exhausting herself maintaining separate worlds. The next Friday, instead of letting Patricia go alone, I insisted on meeting them. 3 scared, lovely children who looked so much like my wife it took my breath away. The youngest, Ruby, had Patricia's exact smile. The middle child, James, had her stubborn chin. The oldest, Brandon, had her intelligent eyes filled with too much pain for his age. They were polite but wary, clearly instructed by Patricia not to talk about their living situation. The nanny, Mrs. Rodriguez, had been told Patricia was a devoted aunt whose husband didn't approve of her sister's life choices. Another lie in an increasingly complex web. The conversation with Timothy and Sophie about their cousins was devastating. They couldn't understand why mommy had kept such a huge secret, why they'd been denied relationships with family who lived so close. Timothy especially felt betrayed, having specifically asked for cousins at every birthday wish. We couldn't sustain 2 households, 2 families, 2 versions of Patricia. After weeks of family therapy and brutal honesty, we made the only decision that made sense. We moved to a larger house using both Patricia's inheritance and our savings, bringing all 5 children together. The integration was messy, painful, and beautiful. Brandon initially resented us for years of secrecy. Ruby clung to Patricia desperately, afraid she'd disappear again. James retreated into himself, overwhelmed by sudden siblings. Timothy and Sophie oscillated between excitement and jealousy at sharing their parents. Today, 2 years later, we're a chaotic family of 7. The kids call themselves siblings, not cousins. Patricia no longer has to lie about Fridays, but trust, once shattered by such elaborate deception, takes longer to rebuild than any house. Sometimes doing the right thing the wrong way causes more damage than the problem you were trying to solve. Patricia saved 3 children from foster care, but nearly destroyed 2 others' sense of family in the process.